Hello and welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you for joining me today as we look at the astrological energies of May 13th through the 20th. We are moving through the middle of May, and over this next week, we're going to finish up the sun's journey through Taurus. We're going to take a look at those energies as well as the retrogrades and planetary changes that are happening right now. I did touch on this in last Wednesday's show, but we're going to pick it up and go a little bit further into what this current cycle of energy is. I do want to share with you that there was no show on Monday, so you did not miss a Monday episode. There will be a show next Monday, though, as I resume my normal schedule now that my life is a little bit more settled and stable again. So thank you for bearing with me as I had to skip a few Monday episodes. We have a lot of energy influences happening right now. And the one thing that you can always return to during these times of changes, uncertainty, and unexpected developments is that your soul is with you every step of the way. You are traveling with a greater presence and a wiser consciousness that loves you and wants you to feel supported and safe. This is something that you must actively tune into and trust. This is part of your own sovereign will and your free choice. This is part of your spiritual development and what you decide is true for you. So when we go through these big energy cycles, we can be destabilized. We can have a lot that comes up. We can have the shifts and changes and things that do some turnabouts as well as some leapfrogs. And I'm feeling like we're entering a pivotal time in 2020. Now, safe to say, the whole year has been quite dynamic so far. But what we're entering here is eclipse season, which begins June 5th. And it goes into July, and every eclipse cycle brings in these next changes, these next waves of energy. So here we are moving through the middle of May with 3 retrogrades happening in this week alone. That's the Jupiter retrograde in Capricorn. That is happening at 27 degrees of Capricorn on May 14th. It's exact at 10:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have Venus retrograde. That happened today, May 13th at 2:44 a.m. That's Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And that was at 21 degrees of Gemini, 50 minutes. And then we also just had Saturn station retrograde on May 10th, May 11th at nearly 2 degrees of Aquarius. So there has been an energetic slowdown. We also had at the end of April, Pluto stationing retrograde at 25 degrees of Capricorn. So it's clear that there's a part of us that is retracting and calling back our energy, calling back into ourselves what has been moving around us. And it's like this energy of what do I need to take in and sit with, integrate, realign, reprioritize. There's a feeling of we're coming back to ourselves in a way that I'm getting the image of it's like bringing new fruit in from the harvest or new vegetables, new crops, like something that has come up and you bring it back into yourself to adjust. But there's also a cosmic brilliance of giving us time for our human selves, our human energy fields to adjust and to make the necessary changes. Planetary retrogrades are an illusion from our location here on Earth. They're not real. The planets don't really go in reverse. It's just part of our perception of how they move from Earth. And so it's almost like a gift based on our location in the cosmos that we have time to integrate in the time-space continuum in the reality of our human worlds what has been happening in the bigger picture. And I feel like this particular phase that we're in, especially over the next few months, the retrograde cycles are going to be energies on one side of the seesaw, and the other side of the seesaw are the new energies coming through with the eclipses and the very dynamic energies of June and July. So we have, in effect, a cosmic balance right now where we know that a slowdown is necessary and essential. It's also beneficial. But then we also have the cycles that are moving us forward. And so I'm seeing it as these, not only this seesaw of energetic balance, but we're also able to unwind. There's an unwinding here of the energies that are done for you. Now, in our last full moon, the Scorpio full moon, there's a very big energy around emotionally reprogramming stories we've told ourselves from many lifetimes. And we're very much in that energy still. And it's very much a part of how we are raising our own consciousness. And we're seeing what has played out in our lives that's been on a loop, an unconscious loop, and in the subconscious, the parts of ourselves that we thought this was how we were supposed to be in the world, or we thought this was the story, or we thought this is what we needed to do based on our family, based on our roles, based on what we've always done. And yet those stories go much deeper than what we realized. And I know that so many of you are very advanced souls, and you've been on this planet for many cycles, and you've been light workers for many cycles. But what's really coming up here after the Scorpio full moon into this middle week of May, there's very deep energies being activated at a galactic level. And these are deep energies that are coming up that I feel are deeply connected to Atlantis, and also connected to the cosmic support of other planets and energies. And it's like there's really this big download coming through right now around what you're consciously shifting from other lifetimes, incarnations, and timelines that you're able to rise up out of in a way that helps your soul advance, but it does take much more work and conscious intention, because it can be easy to stay on the merry-go-round, it can be easy to stay on what's comfortable. I'm feeling like there's a lot of energies related to Atlantis stories, Atlantis themes, Atlantis dynamics, and I know I've touched on this sporadically in previous podcast episodes. And this is also part of what is playing out in the global playground, if you will. These stories, these unfinished stories, where certain people, players, energies were dominant and were able to put in certain mechanisms of control, certain technologies, certain functions, certain power dynamics. There were hierarchies and power structures that were in play that really only supported the few. It's that hierarchy. You could say it's the top 1% or the elite, but this is an energetic system that I'm seeing, and it is unwinding. It is unraveling. It is toppling. And as I say that, I see the almost like the pillars and the structures falling of a great civilization. And throughout the history of Earth, of course, there have been many great civilizations, whether it's the Romans and the Greeks or Mesopotamia, the Aztecs, Atlantis. It's like, and so many more, on every continent. There's always been these civilizations that have built something in a form, in a structure, and then there's a changing of the guard. It's a turning over of a dynasty. And I've mentioned this a while ago, that there have been these cycles of energies that have toppled dynasties. And you could look at it as the Romanovs, the Habsburgs, the Medicis, all these ruling families. These are, of course, specifically in Europe, but all over the world, that had power for a long time, and then bigger forces outside of their control provided a big turnover. A cycle was ending, a cycle was completing that was bigger than anything that could be stopped by human decision, human power, human will. This is what we're learning and living through right now, is the ending of certain dynasties, the turning over of grand cycles on the planet. And it's not just in one part of the world. What makes us very unique is that it's a bigger cycle that is working all over the world, especially because of how the world is connected right now. And of course, you can look at that through the lens of global economics, global trade, the travel industry, multinational corporations, economic systems, financial systems. I mean, everything being so deeply interwoven and interconnected is like you pull on one string on the quilt and it quickly connects to the whole quilt. So what we are moving through is this grand cycle of a very big change. It's very revolutionary, but I'm also hearing it's replenishing. There's going to be little areas that are replenished as the cycle unfolds. And so what I'm hearing about this time on the planet is that there are galactic energies supporting these changes. There are more higher frequency energies helping with this transition. I'm even seeing new technologies. I mean, I'm seeing how there are technologies that have been used by extraterrestrials that, you know, humans would know nothing about, right? It's completely out of our materials or our concept or how the human mind works. And so it's actually quite an exciting time because these new technologies, these new solutions, these new mechanisms are now arriving to help with the replenishment. And so what we're moving through over this next week is a very key time in looking for what you can replenish in your life. The sun in Taurus will reach 24 degrees and make a powerful trine to Pluto in Capricorn at 24 degrees. Then 3 days later, the sun will get to 27 degrees of Taurus, which is a Pleiadian degree. That means it's in alignment with the Pleiadian system of energy, star system, and it's going to trine Jupiter at 27 degrees of Capricorn. So we're going to see some bigger energies on the planet coming through over this next week, and you could be feeling it. You could be feeling it in your body, in your chakra systems. You could be feeling it in your sleep, in your spiritual gifts. This is often a time when your intuitive abilities, your psychic gifts, your spiritual gifts accelerate. They go up a few notches because you're able to have a greater perception or to tune in to energies in a very clear way. Very supportive time for the sun in Taurus, which is what you are building, how you are stabilizing your life, how you are establishing what is meaningful to you. It has asked you to look at what you really come to understand about how much you are accepting and loving yourself. This is the inner foundation work. This is where you really have a sense of what's possible in your world and in your life, because it's based on what you really love and respect about yourself, about your own energy. And we are needing to make the most of this week and this ability to stabilize, because we're going to be cementing in new potentials. And I'm seeing it as like pavers being set down that are going to give you some steadiness before eclipse season, some steadiness as the big world changes unfold, a sense of this is what I know is correct for me because this is what I really understand about who I am at a soul level. And then that soul level experience, I'm seeing how, the energy cords do go out to other places in the galaxy, to other star systems, other planets, other fixed stars. It's almost like there is the potential this week to call forward any of your gifts and abilities that have been untethered. It's like they're loose strings, and you call it back to yourself to essentially work with more of your cosmic abilities and energy gifts. And it feels really dynamic. This can also be work that you do in your sleep. This can be a simple request that you put out before you close your eyes, before you rest or take a nap, that you ask for this support, that you ask to receive this information, this talent, this energy, whatever you're looking for, ask for it. And then while you sleep, you are essentially giving permission for that work to be done and that work to be supporting you. And I feel like this is part of how so many people around the planet are supporting humanity and supporting the planet. Because I'm seeing it as, like when I look at the Earth and all these millions of lights that are really shining brightly on the energy grid. And it's like they're really lit up because there is a strengthening within so many people of their soul mission. And even if you don't know exactly what that is in terms of, say, a title or a job description, it's more about, what that is within yourself. You know your light, you know your energy, you know what you want to do. And so there's like this rising energy all over the earth that is sending out these beacons of light to our brothers and sisters in the galaxy, and they're here to support us. So it's a very cool dance. It feels like a very cool energy dance right now. And this is a very big week because we're going to be receiving more cosmic downloads. Now, there are some interesting changes that are happening with the planets changing signs. So Mercury has just entered Gemini, which is his home turf, and loves being in Gemini because this is where we want to get out into the world and be with our friends, socialize. Of course, social distancing is still very relevant, but this is where we want to see what's happening and to not be held back because that Mercury in Gemini looks for stimuli. Mercury wants to get busy. And then we have Mars, who just entered Pisces today, May 13th. Now, this is very important because Mars entering Pisces is where he has to surrender his human ego and his human will. Pisces is a sign of duality, and it is the duality between humanness and spirit. It's where we have to maybe do something twice. That first time we act out of our human ego, our human desire, and we end up with less than stellar results. That's where Mars in Pisces gets discouraged, feels like a victim, has self-pity, places blame because he's acting from his humanness. Instead of realizing that the next time around, Mars in Pisces can see that if he connects to the spiritual will, the spiritual influence and spiritual power, then he will be triumphant. And it's almost like standing just in your human self and not seeing right away that right behind you is this huge, glorious archangel with giant wings. And so you're trying to make something happen or have it happen, and then it's not until you turn to this giant archangel and ask for support that then that Mars in Pisces truly has his power and his strength. So we get two opportunities to do something when Mars is in Pisces. And again, first we're acting out of our human consciousness, but then we learn from that and have an opportunity to act from a higher place of spiritual timing and the ability to see something that is out of our control. We don't have to control it. In fact, we can't control it. And so then there's a surrender that takes place. And it's through that surrender that Mars in Pisces is truly in its greatest power. So it's a bit of a conundrum. It's not natural. It can also be that when Mars is in Pisces, there's things you just don't feel like doing. You don't feel like doing. You don't have the energy for it. The body is not responding. And so we've talked before on this show about your body consciousness, which is something that is described and taught in human design. And the body consciousness is when you feel like doing something. You feel a response. You feel the movement. Well, anytime Mars is in a water sign, he has to have that feeling be present in order to take action. So this can make the Mars in Pisces inconsistent. This is where you can say you're going to do something on Friday, and then Friday comes and you have no energy for it. This is where you think you're going to be very consistent and reliable, but Mars in Pisces is not consistent and reliable. It's very much about what's the weather, what's happening, and then I'll see if I have the energy to do it. So the inconsistency is present, but this can help you with adjusting your expectations of yourself, where you don't overcommit, you don't plan too far in advance, you give yourself time to just see what you are responding to and what is correct for your energy that day. So Mars is going to be in Pisces until June 28th. So over the next 6 weeks, this is a very big time for understanding what you are energetically completing from the last 2 years. Mars moves in a 2-year cycle. That includes his retrograde. And the Pisces energy is of completion, forgiveness, endings, allowing something to transmute into a new form. This is where the surrender comes in, where you look at what you have achieved, what you have done, what has come about, and you release expectations, releasing what you have a grip on. Mars in Pisces is where we can practice detachment of, I have no idea how this is going to play out. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm not sure what this is going to look like, but I'm going to stay open and not grasp on to anything. Now, the reason why this is an extra important time is because when Mars enters Aries, he stays there until the beginning of January 2021. So Mars is going to be in his home turf of Aries from the end of June until the beginning of January 2021. This is a very excited, enthusiastic Mars. When he's in Aries, he's dynamic, he's a go-getter, there's a lot happening. He is impulsive and impatient, maybe quicker to anger. He has a lot going on. And he's also going to be making very dynamic squares to Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto that will each be in Capricorn. This is going to be a very active time. And we're actually being prepared right now to rest. Give yourself a break. Give yourself downtime. I realize that sounds a little silly considering we've all had quarantine and we've been isolating. But what this means is that as we enter the second half of 2020, there's a big energy shift. And it can also show up as anger at the Capricorn establishments. It's going to be a very dynamic political season, as if you didn't know that already. There's a lot at stake in politics and in government right now. The world is at stake, you could say, because there's been this huge spiritual war between the light and the dark, and there is a sense of doing anything at any cost, going to the extreme to hold on, to grasp, to fight for what doesn't want to be lost. This Mars in Aries is a fighter, and it's going to it's interesting because I'm seeing inflammation, and that can not simply be the body, but the earth energetic grid inflamed with very strong feelings, strong actions, strong reactions, very masculine energy that can show up at different levels of consciousness. And this is where new beginnings start as well, when Mars is in Aries. So the second half of 2020 has a lot in it. And anything you can do right now to take care of yourself, to be aware of what you've learned, what you've understood, what you have perhaps even come to a place of higher consciousness around, all of that is going to help set you up and establish what level of consciousness you're going to begin in this next Mars cycle. So whatever you can do right now to find that inner calm, that inner peace, will be a wonderful way to invest your energy. And I also feel like anything that you can let go of now is going to help with not feeling as triggered in the next cycle. So as Pisces encourages us to release and to say, I understand what I was learning, I forgive myself, I forgive others. You can practice Ho'oponopono. You can write out a soul letter to somebody where you write out the letter, you never send it. You can do various types of energy work and body work. There's so many different methods of moving energy that will be really beneficial with this Mars and Pisces, especially because Mars is the body. So it's flushing out what has been stuck or hidden in your physical self, what energy meridians need to open up and flow. Pisces is the ocean. And so it's almost like looking at what are the little energy streams within me, whether those are physical, mental, emotional, etc. Where are those little streams that I open up and release, and then they flow into the cosmic ocean or the cosmic abyss. So it's a very important time to allow energy to be moving through you and to be releasing it so that you don't carry it forward. Mars and Neptune are both in Pisces, which is about what we can't see and how we need to still be very careful around our health. This is where it's good to be prudent, a little bit cautious, and then you have this strong Gemini energy coming up, especially in the second half of May, that wants to get out, that's impatient and restless and says, I just need to go somewhere, just let me go somewhere. But the Pisces energy is the confusion around, should I do this or should I not? So there is something about treading lightly right now in terms of what you do socially, where you go in your community, to not rush it, just to go with a sense of being aware of what you need to do or take care of, and being flexible because of the strong mutable signs here. I do have a video for you on YouTube that's about the Gemini New Moon, which is on May 22nd, and it is at 2 degrees of Gemini. So I just want to give you a heads up that new moon has this energy strongly imprinted in it, where it is a very active Gemini energy, but then it's diluted by the Mars and Neptune and Pisces energies. And so there's this sense of, it's almost like a being tired, being exhausted, being tired from this experience, being worn out. But it's kind of like you look at, I've done nothing all day and I'm so tired. It's that kind of a thing where it doesn't make sense to your mind, but that's because it's an energetic experience. And I'm feeling this too, as I say this, as a cellular turning over in our bodies. The cellular turnover is actually happening and has been unfolding during these past 3 months or so. And I have felt it as the new energies, the new neutrinos from the sun being very bright, being very dynamic, being of a higher vibration. And there is something about our bodies are integrating a lot. And it isn't about the coronavirus stuff. It's actually about the energies that are shifting in the cosmos, and that this time period of isolation and quarantine has been a gift to help us be in our own auras, to listen to ourselves, to understand more about what we need to know right now, our life priorities, our daily priorities, even to see our shadow energies, to see where our minds go, our fears, our anxieties, to see where we're ready to make some new shifts that we're ready for. And again, I feel that really coming in strongly when Mars enters Aries later on in the summer, June, July. So we're in this very interesting turnover and preparatory phase that we are processing on all levels of our being, and yet it's not showing up physically yet. And that's because the physical energies are the last to arrive. We work with something spiritually, energetically, and emotionally, and then the final piece of the puzzle is how it shows up in the physical world. So we're doing a lot of work right now, and what I'm hearing is that I'm hearing that it's very important to not judge yourself right now. And by that, I mean, you could look at your day or your days, weeks, months, and say, oh, well, what did I even accomplish? What did I even do during this quarantine or during this time? I thought when I had time at home, I would do this, this, and this. I would, paint the hall and reorganize the closet or take care of this. It hasn't been that kind of energy. It hasn't been the energy of a vacation by any means. It's been very stressful. It's been very intense, and it's created a lot of worry in people in many ways. It's very valid. I mean, it's safe to say that it's very valid and appropriate if you've had a lot of things come up that have made you look at your life in a whole new way, that have brought up your fears, that have brought up financial issues, all of that, right? But this is where you return to your soul's energy traveling with you, and that you're not alone, you are supported, and the cosmos has thousands of more possible solutions than we could ever imagine. And we are incredibly supported right now with what we need to do next, meaning what you've come to understand about your life that is no longer a fit for you. It's no longer the right job or the right industry. It's no longer the right habits that you've had or the right money habits. It's no longer the right food or whatever it's been. You're meant to make changes right now. Like, that is the name of the game. But it's meant to be changes that give you a greater sense of power and control around what is necessary to you in your life. Over the next week, look at what you can shift in your mental perceptions around what you're ready to change, what you're ready to step into, and open up to asking for it, asking for those next steps, asking for clarity, asking for the resources, the connections, whatever it might be. Because again, we have huge cosmic support over the next week and new solutions coming in that could be exactly what you need. So the key dates here are May 15th, which is when the sun trines Pluto. It's actually May 14th and 15th because of where you are on the planet and the speed of the sun. So May 14th and 15th is Sun in Taurus trining Pluto in Capricorn. And then May 16th and 17th is the Sun in Taurus trining Jupiter in Capricorn at 27 degrees. So these are key periods for you to be very clear about where you're going. And that's what the Capricorn energy helps us with. It says, this is where I'm going. This is the mountain I want to climb. These are my goals, my ambitions. And it gives us the fortitude to get there. So we have support right now that I really want to share with you so you can make the most of it. Because, when these phases happen, we want to be ready, right? And we want to do what we can to capitalize on them. Now, the sun in Taurus tends to go slow. It's an observer, it's a builder, it's calm, peaceful. It wants to take things one step at a time. And then the sun is going to enter Gemini on May 20th. And that will happen at 9:49 a.m. And that's where life gets busy again. That's where things pick up. There's more going on. There's more to say. There's more happening on social media. It tends to be a time of increased action. And we want to be in that Gemini socializing atmosphere. So a strong energy shift will come the middle of next week with not only the sun entering Gemini, but then the Gemini New Moon. And I feel like what we're meant to do right now is just remain steady in what we know is true, what you know is true for you, what you know is essential, what you know is something that has realigned your value structures. Really put some things into place or made it clear, and to know that you have what you need as long as you keep going higher and you go higher into these other realms of your soul consciousness. Now, the other retrograde we have going on is Venus stationing retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini, nearly 22 degrees. And I have touched on this in a few recent episodes, so I didn't want to go too much into it again. But just remember that this is a time to be more conservative with your money and your choices. It's not a good time to make any big financial decisions. It's not a great time to do anything with your appearance. For example, I know that a lot of hair salons are opening up, barber salons are opening back up, and you could be ready for something different. But Venus retrograde is not the best time to try a new look. So it's more advisable to get your standard cut and a trim and then wait until Venus is direct again before changing your hair color or trying a new cut, because Venus is about beauty and appearance and how you come across. It's why it's also not a good time for plastic surgery. It's not a good time for anything about your appearance or anything that makes you feel good about yourself, because Venus retrograde is where we are meant to come back and get very clear about what we do value and what we love about who we are. She helps us build our confidence. So when Venus is retrograde, there can be a lack of confidence or questioning one's self-confidence. So that's why it's good to go slow with these kinds of decisions and choices, and to know that it can just be temporary. So if, for example, you are to try a new beauty product or try a new look, you could say, oh, I just love that for 5 minutes and I'm not going to commit to it. So stay flexible. That's always part of the Gemini energy as well, is that Gemini likes choices and likes to have options. Now, remember, this Venus is also squaring Neptune in Pisces, which makes things unclear. And so there's a sense of, okay, what do I really want? I don't know. I don't know what I want. And there's a double punch with that, because not only is Venus retrograde, but then she's squaring Neptune. So give yourself time to sit with something. Don't rush to a decision. You might not even arrive at the right decision or what you truly want. That's part of this next few months, is how the Venus retrograde is showing us what we do want, what matters to us, what connects with our heart, and what we really value. So overall, we have very dynamic energy here as we move through the middle of May. And please know that you are meant to keep going, that you came in with strength, you came in with power, you came in with a connection to a support system that is with you, and that can help sustain you as you keep going through this very interesting time on the planet, but also give you a bigger picture perspective on what you want in your life and what you need in your life going forward. So I hope this has given you some good things to sit with and consider. And then I was guided to actually offer you a really special price on one of my courses that's called Mastering Abundance in Your Spiritual Business. And this is a program that has 13 audio recordings. So audio recordings, right? And it's 140 minutes of information that guides you into your relationship with money, abundance, and finances. I give you exercises, I give you visualizations, and it's self-analysis. Like, you're going to see some things about yourself and your relationship with money that you didn't see before. And my intention with this program is that it's actually something we can keep revisiting throughout our life, because we can have hidden layers of energies connected to money, but it helps you exfoliate the fears, exfoliate the worries, get out of those limitations, especially that came from a mother or a father, because your childhood established in you certain beliefs about money. And so that's something else that this program goes into. So it's normally $88, and I was told to offer it for $33. Okay, so that's like 60% off. And you use coupon code GROW at checkout. This is good until the end of June. And I know that it's essential for so many of you who are reworking your money, and that the money stuff has been very big. But I don't want you to go into a cycle or repeat an energy loop with money. It's too stressful, right? Like, we don't need that. We want to break out of these places and understand what's been operating deeper within us. Similar to a computer, that has an operating system. And until you go into that operating system, you don't know what's really happening or what the coding is. So again, this program is designed to help you look at some of these deeper areas of yourself that have been limiting you or holding you back. And I offer this program because, of course, I've done this work too. And in fact, anytime I want to expand with my business or do something else or do something new, I check in with myself on my own financial beliefs and what really supports me now. Because, we live in a world with unlimited abundance. And that's just not money. Like, that's just not, printing off bills at the press. This is the abundance of so many things that support our work in the world. Okay. So I'm going to also open you up to what that looks like, to what abundance means in your business, not just money, not just your rates. Okay. I really hope that this helps you see some things in a new light. So I'm offering that program to you. Coupon code GROW at checkout. Get it for $33. It's all audio recordings, 13 audio recordings, 140 minutes. And come back and listen as often as you want, go through the exercises, etc. But I really hope it helps many of you reestablish what you know you're here to do, what your passion is, what your soul mission is, what your work is. I mean, we know that it matters more than ever right now, doesn't it? And I want to support as many of you as possible, because I know that what you're here to do is going to benefit the world. And that's a very exciting thing to be a part of and to participate in. So the link is below this show. And thank you again for joining me. Thank you so much for connecting to this podcast. And I will be back on Monday for an episode, and I will connect with you then. So be sure and check out my websites at mollymccord.online. That's where you can find all of my astrological classes and programs, as well as the business programs. And then I also have a website over at consciouscoolchic.com, which is where you can find information about my published books, audiobooks, spiritual teachings, and consciousness topics. Thanks so much for joining me. I wish you a beautiful week ahead. I hope that wonderful things show up to support you, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.